Howdy y'all, Cephas here. Just wanted to do another one of these unscripted kind of, not really a rant, but kind of a discussion, let you know the kind of things that have been going on. As a lot of people already know, I've been sort of having a discussion with the distributist who I made a video about a little while ago, and he wanted to have a live stream where a bunch of atheists got together and talked about the Christian worldview and whatever the atheist worldview happens to be and all the rest of this. And I'm totally fine with that. That's cool. I got no issues with it. But what I did have an issue with, and what I told him up front, was I'm not going to let him talk about the Christian worldview without defending Christianity. You can't actually have a Christian worldview without examining all of the things that the Christian worldview is based on. And let's be really honest, there isn't just one Christian worldview. I mean, there's a big difference between, I don't know, the Amish worldview and World War II Nazi Christian Germany worldview and some fundamentalist evangelical church's worldview and some hyper-liberal Christian church worldview. There's no one Christian worldview. So I said up front, yeah, we're going to have to talk about exactly what constitutes the Christian worldview, why it's a Christian worldview and not just a worldview that is somehow associated with Christianity. And you're actually going to have to defend Christianity before I'm going to let you go, well, this is a worldview that actually does any good. Because, let's be honest, I don't think that it does. And I don't think that the so-called Christian worldview, whatever he's calling it, is really all that Christian. I don't think that Christianity has anything intrinsic to do with this worldview. Just because Christianity was the number one game in town back in the day when a lot of these things were going on, that doesn't mean Christianity is responsible for what went on. Correlation, not causation. Got to learn the difference here. So, if you're going to say Christianity, the Christian worldview, whatever you're going to define the Christian worldview as, and say this is what makes society work, great. I mean, I'm fine with you making that argument. Now back it up. Prove it. Show that the claims that you're making about this so-called worldview are actually Christian. Show that they're actually worthwhile. Show, and this is the part that everybody has a problem with, show that they're true. And he obviously doesn't want to do that. I don't want to go back and dig through the emails we've had going back and forth, but he has told me in no uncertain terms he has absolutely no interest in having a debate between Christianity and atheism. Well, then what are you going to have a debate about? I mean, sure, we can sit down and have a debate or have a discussion about ethics. Because ethics are not religion-based. And I know he's going to disagree with that, but there's nothing inherently religious about ethics. Or the places that you find religiously specific ethics, I tend to find those ethics and those ethical systems, I find them pretty reprehensible. Because that's where you get things like parents not giving their kids medical treatment because God will take care of it. Or people who won't get off their ass and go out and actually help people, but they're going to get down on their knees and go, oh, we're going to pray to God and God will take care of it. No, it doesn't actually work. I'm sorry. It doesn't actually work. So that kind of thing, I'm not really that interested in. Now, we can talk about ethics, and that's great. I'm always up for ethics and morals and that kind of a thing. But if you're going to do anything like that, the first thing you need to discuss is, where are you getting these ideas? How are we going to test these ideas? Why are these ideas worth looking at in the first place? Why are they worth implementing in the first place? Do they actually work in the real world? And should we bother with them? I don't think he's going to want to go for that either. So who knows if any of this stuff is going to happen. And I think it's funny because I've actually had, and I went back and I looked in my email for just 2017, just email debates that I've had with theists that have come to me. I haven't gone to anybody else. They have come to me and said, let's have a debate. Because of the videos I've put up, I've had 7 debates. And you know how many of those Christians? I think that, they've all been Christians. How many of those Christians have run away? 7. Because I will not let them go, well, we're just going to assume for the sake of argument that absolutely everything I believe is true. Sorry, that's not how this works. I expect you to be able to back up your claims with evidence. And if you can't, if you're just going to go, well, it makes me feel good. Well, I want to do it. Well, it's been traditional. Well, lots of people believe it. I don't care. I really don't care. Because I'm not interested in what makes you feel good. I'm not interested in what lots of people have believed. I'm not interested in any of that. I'm interested in what's true. If you can't come up with what's true, you got nothing. You have nothing to talk about. You have nothing worth sharing. And 100% of Christians have run away. They have just stopped responding. It's kind of funny. A lot of them will try really hard to weasel their way around actually providing any evidence. They will do their damnedest to avoid actually having to talk about the things they believe and whether or not they're true. They will just make all kinds of unfounded, unsupported, unjustified assertions going, well, it's a good thing to believe. I don't buy it. I don't. You have to be able to back these things up, and you have to be able to say, this is something that's well justified, that there's evidence for, that skeptics could look at and go, okay, I can buy that. Let's go with that for the moment, even for the sake of argument. And there's a certain degree where I'll go, yeah, all right, that claim, you can't really back it up. But to move forward in this discussion, we will say that for the moment, yeah, all right, maybe, okay. But they've got nothing for anything. That's the problem. They've got nothing for any of their claims, for any of their beliefs. They've got nothing. They've just got wishful thinking and ad hoc rationalizations and logical fallacies. And I honestly don't get it. And I honestly think it was funny that, getting back to the distributist, when he made his video, he kept calling out atheists going, oh, well, you're just going after lol cows. Oh, you're going after all the easy arguments, the ones that you can just make fun of, asserting that somehow there are these other arguments out there that we can't challenge. Name one. Show me anything that has not been completely disassembled by atheists somewhere. On YouTube, happens every day. People go after every single argument that any theist makes and takes every single one of them apart. And they all fail. 100% of them. And so I actually specifically, in the video that I made, and also in email, I asked the distributist, where are these non-law apologetics that you claim are out there that atheists just can't handle? Crickets. Nothing. Didn't say a word. Why? Because he knows there's nothing out there. I think he knows that Christianity has nothing. I think he knows it's got absolutely nothing except emotional appeals, logical fallacies, and wishful thinking. And I'm sorry, but if the best thing you've got to defend your point of view is nonsense, then why should anybody take you seriously? So, honestly, that's really what I was looking at when we got into this whole thing was, if you're going to say, hey, here's the Christian worldview, however you choose to define that, I don't know how you're going to do that, but here's a Christian worldview that I support. Here's how the Christian worldview was responsible for Western civilization. Okay, but now I want you to defend the foundations behind it. I want you to defend why this is a Christian worldview, because a lot of them aren't. They're just correlated with Christianity, but don't actually have anything to do with it. And also, why Christianity is true. Why should we pay any attention? Because in reality, and somebody else pointed this out in the comments on one of my videos, but they said, well, maybe he means the Christian worldview is just useful. Okay, it's useful. Whatever. That doesn't make it true. That doesn't make it the only useful worldview out there. That doesn't make it the best worldview. It doesn't make it the best way to approach real world problems. Because let's be honest, the only real way to attack real world problems is with real world solutions. You can't sit down and go, oh look, world hunger, let's pray. Because that doesn't actually solve anything. You can't sit down and go, oh, well, we're having problems with X. Therefore, let's do a rain dance. No, that doesn't actually solve anything. It doesn't fix problems. And I'm only interested in fixing problems. I'm not interested in talking about problems, although talking, if it gets you to a solution, that's fine. But I don't want you to sit around and just wave your arms and go, oh, the problems will be solved if God wants us to. That's stupid. It is. It's absolutely dumb. And I want no part of that. I really don't. So that's kind of where it's at right now. I mean, the last time I talked to him was on Halloween, and he wanted to get together and have a discussion online. And it's like, dude, it's Halloween. Some of us have lives. So, that didn't happen. Haven't heard from him since. I've heard a lot of responses from other people. I've had lots and lots and lots and lots of email responses, people going, what's going on? So I wanted to throw out this really quick video. And I don't know. I'm fine with having a discussion about ethics, but religion doesn't have to be involved. I'm fine about having a discussion about Christian ethics, but you damn well better be sure I'm going to be asking questions about Christianity, and you'd better be able to provide answers to my questions. And if you can't, then your so-called Christian worldview is just going to get thrown right out the window as something that's every bit as irrational as Christianity is itself. Because I'm not interested in your feelings. I'm not interested in any of that crap. I'm interested in truth. I'm interested in fact. If you can't give me that, if you can't prove that the things that you believe are truth and are fact and are defensible and are evidence-based, sorry, I got no interest in the crap you're spewing. I have none. Sorry, move along. And I hope I'm wrong, because he's not a bad guy. I mean, I've talked to him a couple of times. He's not a bad guy. He's got an attitude. I mean, I've got an attitude, but at least my attitude is based on facts and skepticism and rationality, whereas I think his is based on emotion, just like most theists. But, he doesn't strike me as totally disingenuous, as just being an asshole. He's a good guy. He's a decent person. So I'd like to actually have some kind of a productive discussion. I just don't think you can have a productive discussion without some kind of rational background, some kind of intellectual underpinning, where you're building all of this off of a solid foundation instead of what I see the so-called Christian worldview, where you're not basing it off of a solid foundation. You're building it off of fallacy and wishful thinking and emotional hopes and dreams and all this other nonsense. And then anything you build on top of that, even if it works perfectly in the real world, it's not that great to deal with. It's not worth spending your time on. As some people know, I've had this tagline on forums for a very, very long time. There is nothing demonstrably true that religion can give us that we cannot get equally well or better from purely secular means. And I believe that's totally, totally true. I don't think religion adds anything to any of this. In fact, if anything, it hurts morality. It hurts ethics. It hurts everything. Religion is a disease. And it's a disease we need to cure. It's a disease we need to get rid of. And asking, well, what do we replace the disease with, is a stupid question to ask. Yeah. Oh no, you got rid of cancer. What do we replace it with? Nothing. Be healthy. Get rid of this crap. So anyway, that's about all I had to say this time around. Anybody who has any questions, I invite you to ask them in the comments. I really do hope that this thing with the distributors goes anyplace. I don't know if it will or not. I'm completely open to it, but fact is, I'm not going to just sit back and say, oh, well, the Christian worldview does blah, 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 and not expect him to defend the Christian worldview, because the Christian worldview means nothing without Christianity being true. And if you can't prove Christianity's true, you got nothing. So, sorry, we're not playing that game. So, like I said, let me know in the comments. I will hit y'all back up next time I have a video, which should be soon. And everybody have a good day. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Everything changes.